reasonable.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think let's move on to the Annie discussion.
Sure.
So,
Okay.
correct me if I'm wrong. I could be wrong here.
Yeah.
One of your pieces of advice is you tend to recommend people Annie, especially in the lower elo brackets
Yes.
to their journey to make it easier and simpler. Is that right?
It's not just because it's simpler. I think Annie has a really good fundamental baseline kit. She has high auto attack range, which requires spacing and then ability to utilize the auto attack range. She has a point and click ability, which is obviously good. She has resource management in both mana and her passive, which teaches like something going on there. She has Tibbers, which then you have to control Tibbers with R. So there's a little bit of added mechanic that you can get while playing Annie. She has her shield and timing it. I just think that her kit is like a perfect vanilla card, if I were to use like a TCG analogy, to play the game with. But then also I do think that her power level at low MMR, mid MMR, even pro play, I mean, Annie's still viable in pro play, it is just really strong. And I think that her gameplay and most stuff is really straightforward with her. She's also a solo kill mid laner. Like, she can find solo kills pretty often, and I think that that's a good metric that low MMR players, when they're trying to get better, again, it's like one of those metrics like, can I track it? Are you consistently winning in CS? Are you solo killing your opponent with a champion that can definitely solo kill in low MMR? So yeah, I think there's a lot going on with Annie. It's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would, completely disagree.
Okay. Okay.
So,
Go.
So I think Annie is probably up there with one of the worst mages you could play as a low elo player.
Okay.
Up there, not to say she can't be effective if a Smurf were to play her, and not to say that you can't learn everything, all those things
Sure.
you said with her. Annie is, in my opinion, actually a very complex champion. And in a way that a lot of people don't understand. So there's one aspect of a kit that is very important that I would consider, to be honest, to be the training wheels of mid lane, the training wheels of lane, specifically in mid. And that is wave clear. Nowadays, if you don't have wave clear inside your kit, you're essentially playing the game on hard mode. And Annie really severely lacks wave clear. And for high elo players, the way you establish lane control, I've played a fair bit of Annie myself.
Sure.
And I've versed a lot of an Annie OTP in my server who's actually really quite good. Hoity Toity, he's like an Annie OTP in O's for a long time, and he's really quite good. The best Annie players, as you know, leverage her high attack range. They posture up aggressively, abuse that attack range. They will go Scorch. They will start E in a lot of range matchups. They will bait the enemy to trade onto them. Go get E, proc the Scorch. That was even when First Strike was great. You could proc First Strike, basically guaranteed. And you would essentially establish lane control utilizing everything around your E and your auto attacks. It's actually very little to do with your Q and your W. It's all basically your E and your auto attacks. Now, that's a very unintuitive, complex aspect of League of Legends, because it assumes, number one, you're competent mechanically, such that you can actually understand the ranges of champions and space and tether correctly, and understanding minion aggro. Two, it understands or assumes that you understand what ability you should be using your E for in a particular matchup. Then you also, on top of that, you're kind of baited to use your abilities on the wave to, I guess, aid yourself with wave clear, but your mana cost is so high, it's unreasonable. And so you're only then, typically then, you're forced to hold your passive stun to generate threat to create space, and then use your auto attacks to only last hit. So you even though your Q gives you back mana, you're not even really incentivized to use your Q to last hit, because then you're losing your passive stacks. You're not really ever using your W because it costs too much mana. So then what actually happens in the lower elo brackets, because the players can't, specifically in bronze and silver, they can't leverage the auto attack range. The E is commonly misused, and again, not intuitive for the average player. Therefore, your kit completely loses lane control. Your kit doesn't have wave clear. And what often happens, and what I see, they get shoved in, they're getting poked under tower, They have to then use their abilities to last hit. They miss last hits. They mess their W. They go They become overly reliant on using their R for lane control. And let's say the stars align. Let's say the jungler ganks, or maybe the enemy mistethers at 6. They press their tibbers. They get a solo kill. Quite often, even after that solo kill, the enemy comes back and TPs. Their tibbers is on cooldown, and they're like, oh, well, I guess I lose lane control right until my ultimate comes back up again. And so in practice,
Yeah.
in actual reality, all of the major strengths of Annie's kit are basically unusable for the entirety of the lower elo community. And so you don't learn you don't actually feel or have the chance to feel out lane control. And so therefore, because you don't get lane control, you don't actually ever get the opportunity to have dominance over the lane, control the wave, and actually plan your resets. You can't really build the habits of warding and leaning. And you don't actually even have a great way to simplify your lanes because you're constantly getting shoved in and your mental sack is overwhelmed CSing under tower. So in practice, Annie is probably one of the worst champs you could play in bronze and silver and